Well, my father-in-law used to say that a woman is never satisfied. You stop moving and she wants a roof over her head and walls. So you build a cabin, a roof over her head, and put walls up, and lo and behold, she wants holes cut in the walls so she can see out. So you cut holes in the walls so she can see out, and she wants glass put in them for windows. So you put glass in there for windows, and she covers them up with rags she calls curtains. Anyway, my wife's not like that. Last winter, when she broke her leg, while she was recuperating, I found a piece of steel. It's old trusses from underneath bleachers that were tore out of the high school gymnasium several years ago. Been laying up here in the mud in the hill for a while, and I dug one of them out and made this handrail so she could get up and down the steps a little better. And that worked out pretty good. So last spring, I made another little handrail or porch rail. She had that just covered up with some hog wire so the kids and the dogs and stuff wouldn't fall out of it and come off the porch and fall out of it. And that looked kind of crappy after all the work we went through with the cabin to put siding and stuff on it and the shingles and all of that up there to doll that up. That hog wire looked kind of tinny. So anyway, I dug out another piece of that truss and made a handrail go across the front. To finish that off, I want to put one across the backside of the porch over there. And then she decided that that one, the handrail across the front, was a little bit high, so she wants me to make another one to go underneath that to finish closing that porch off there. Well, here's the material right here. I dug some more of it out of the pile. I think that's about all I got left. Probably have to scab it together, figure out a way to piece it together to make it long enough to fit across the porch. But meanwhile, this is what I got over here. And this is what I'm going to make the handrail for the end. I'll get the wire wheel now, and I'll go over that and knock the loose rust scale off of that. Then we'll heat it up and bend that leg. We'll paint it with some Cora-Seal and some paint to match up what's already there. And then I'll bolt that up there.
All I gotta do is just screw them after I get them in the ground, right? Okay, but this one's way too high right here.
This one, the outside of this one's not lined up with the line. I told Judy a few weeks ago we needed to make a cover for her little excavator and her new tractor that she's got, her new little power wheelbarrow. And she took me to heart at that, so she come over here. This was kind of a catch-all for a whole bunch of crap. Junk over here on this side of her little chicken feed shed. And she cleaned it all out. And then we had a load of rock brought in, and now she's got some pier blocks setting up there so we can put posts in and put a wall in right there.
I'll just dig the hole deeper, right?
Yeah, you can dig that one down a little deeper, and then we still raise. You put the level on it and see how that is. Doggone close, just the way it is. Among other things, we started working on a shed for Judy to put her little excavator and her little power wheelbarrow in. So she's got a spot cleaned out for that. We dumped some rock in there, and then she got some pier blocks, and she got those set. Then I went into my log pile and dug out a bunch of logs that I've had there. These are some stuff we cut off the property last year. And they're not very big logs, but they will make lumber. So anyway, I dug those out with the intent of cutting those up to make lumber for Judy's shed. We got to have 3 4x4 posts. I'm probably going to put a 6x4 on top of that for a header. and then 2x4s for rafters, and then we'll need to come up with some 1x. And I think I've got enough of those in my storage to sheet the roof of that. Now the mill wasn't running very good when I milled up those big logs that I cut up earlier this summer. And I got it running better by adjusting the carburetor and got it running pretty good. But the muffler on it is still wore out. Well, here's the muffler, and I put a cover on it, but it was blown out down here, and it was jetting hot gases, exhaust gases, right on the tank for the blade lubricant, and it's a plastic tank and it was melting it. So I made a shield to go over it, just out of some aluminum, and that helped keep it going enough to do what I needed to do earlier this year. But this is in pretty rough shape, and the plumbing for it is all just pipe, just water pipe. And I had a couple of pieces of that was sticking in there. It was loose and just vibrating up and down. So anyway, I got some new mufflers. And instead of an automotive style muffler like that, I really wasn't sure how to do that, but this is a regular muffler for a Kohler engine, like they use on the tractors and lawnmowers and things like that, which is what that engine is a Kohler engine like you use on tractors. Oh, it just uses, I think that's 1 1/4 or 1 1/2 pipe. Anyway, I got 2 of these, so I'll put the new mufflers on there. I mean, there's nothing that ruins steel fat more than hot gases, hot exhaust, and then moisture from being in the air. So that stuff was pretty crudted up, but some of those pipe fittings were on there loose and they were just sitting there vibrating. I thought I could reuse them, a couple of them, but when I got to looking at them, the threads were pretty boogered up. So I just come back from town. I got some new pieces and stuff. I'm going to put that together and get that exhaust system fixed up on that sawmill. And then I got a couple other things that I've got to do to fix it up. A couple other repairs I got to make on it. And then we'll get to milling some lumber for Judy's shed. She's not here right now today. She's with the church. She got helping with a picnic for the Vacation Bible School, so she's busy with that right now. But anyway, I'll get the mill fixed up, and then we can get started milling up her logs. Well, I got the 2 new mufflers put on there. Had to get one up pipe that comes up out of there. There's a coupling on those. They had like a 6-inch nipple coming up out of the cylinder, and then another 3-inch nipple or so coming up out of that on a coupling, and then went into the paraphernalia that they had going into the muffler. Well, the one 6-inch coupling wasn't much good on the pipe on the far side there. They weren't very good, so I replaced those, and they went on there okay. They went on there good. And then I put an elbow, a 90-degree elbow on top of each one of those with about a 2-inch or 3-inch nipple on there. And then the exhaust mufflers just screwed right onto those. So each cylinder has its own muffler on there. I don't know what that's going to do with the back pressure or anything like that on that, how that's going to affect that. And those 2 mufflers are not going to attenuate the sound near as well as an automotive style muffler would. But hot gases are not pointed right at the blade lube tank now anyway. So one of them's pointed straight out and the other one's pointed just a little bit this direction to keep it from pointing straight to that column there. Well, let's start it up and see how they work. Well, those actually work pretty darn good, I think. That other muffler was burned out, so it didn't have much noise attenuation on it. But I thought these might be a little bit louder than they are, but they're actually pretty good. See how they are when we get it up above an idle, but I'm not unhappy with that. It's a lot better than it was. All right, I noticed just a little bit of a problem there with that the way it was. The muffler, especially the one on this left side, was going to run into that framework up above, and we don't really want that running into that because that's the tank for the hydraulic system, and if the motor's up high and the exhaust is going onto that, that's going to heat that tank up even more. The other one wasn't too bad. It went by it, but I went ahead and turned it a little bit. I might turn it just a little bit more. Now the nice thing about this the way it is it doesn't interfere with the air cleaner or the carburetor. The other muffler, when it was on there, you had a hard time getting the cover off for the air filter to change it. And I'm not unhappy with the sound that's making. That muffles that down pretty good. I'm still going to have to wear hearing protection with that, but that's a given anyway. And so it's probably not quite as much as what it'd be with a bigger muffler on there, with an automotive muffler, but I'm not unhappy with that at all. Okay, that little project is done. Now I got another project to do here before I can get started on this. Maybe a couple more of them. Well, I'm seriously envious of all of these guys with their new fancy mills, with all the hydraulic log turners and log clamps and stands and all of that stuff. At my age, I can't justify spending $50,000 or $60,000 for one of those new mills. Now, don't get me wrong, the Mighty Mite mill is a hell of a stout mill. It's a lot more mill than a lot of these others that are $50,000, $60,000 with all the new whiz-bang bells and whistles on them. This thing is built like a bridge, like a railroad bridge, but you got to do everything by hand. Well, this is one of the things here. This is the log clamps here, and it's all manual. What there is about a 3-inch pipe that runs through here, and it's a heavy gauge pipe. It's a heavy wall pipe, so it's hell for stout. And then they've got about a 4-inch pipe cut in a section that goes over the top of that with these wings welded on that tips up, and that's what holds the log from rolling over this way, or what you roll up a cant up against. And it works pretty good. And what it does, they got a nut welded in here with a hole through there, and then there's a T-handle bolt that's made up to go in that nut, and that just clamps down on that. Well, this is just a square-headed 1/2 inch by 13 bolt with a handle welded onto it for a T-handle, and it works just fine, except of course this thing sits out in the weather all the time and it gets a little rusty. But the bolt just broke off of there. That got kind of seized up in there, galled a little bit, seized up in there, and the bolt broke off, the weld broke. So I've got to weld that back on there. I've got a new bolt on there. I've just cleaned off the face of that where it goes, ground down all the old weld and everything. I've got a new bolt, or a new nut I mean. I've got a bolt here, and that is going into the hole that's relieved for that goes into clamps against this smaller pipe. And then on the T, I cleaned the threads up on that, but I also put a long chamfer on that, tapered that down pretty good, because this hole was just barely big enough for that bolt to go through. In fact, this bolt here that I'm using for a guide for that goes in there, and it kind of threads into that hole and stopped it. I was going to put a clamp on that, but once I got it in there, I figured out that it didn't need a clamp on there. So anyway, put my welder in a wheelbarrow because my welding cart's a piece of crap, and I didn't want to pack the welder over here by hand, even though it's only about 45 or 50 feet. I'm getting to be a decrepit old man. So anyway, I got my welder over here and a long 10 gauge extension cord set up for it, and I'm going to go ahead and weld that bolt back onto that for the clamp so we can get this back together and working again. So I tapped that with the hammer a little bit to make sure my weld's held. And I welded that all the way around. I didn't need to weld that all the way around, but that keeps the moisture from going in there through the welds. And that's why I did that. So now I'm going to spray this with a little bit of, well, we used to be Exo Rust, but now it's Krylon color and paint. Anyway, we just happen to have this out because I'm painting the railing for the porch. So we'll just squirt some of that on there to keep it from rusting. There. Now that's better than it was actually, because that bolt goes down in there freely. So this is the way it works. You tip this up. I got to clean the sawdust out of here, but you tip this up where you want it and tighten that bolt up like that. There, that works good. I'm happy with that. Actually, I can go right up here like this, tighten it up here. I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the bolts out of all of these others clamps on this side and lube those up with the Molly Mist. We'll work on those other ones now and get the threads cleaned up on those and everything, get them working smooth. And then I'll be able to put a blade in the mill and get ready and start milling up some lumber for Judy. Down so the blade doesn't hit. I worked on the sawmill there, got all of the clamps and stuff, the threads in them all cleaned up and redone and everything working good. Meanwhile, Judy came back from her church doings. She went out with a picnic with the Bible school kids and stuff and had hot dogs and s'mores and whatnot. Anyway, she come home. She's building this shed. I'm helping her with it a little bit, but I told her that was her shed, so she's want to do some more on it. She's got the pier blocks all set. She put a log on the mill and I showed her how to cut with it and stuff. We got 4 4x4 posts. We need 3 4x4s for the uprights on her little shed. I do have a 10-footer there that we'll dig out and make a 4x6 for a header for this one wall. Got the 4x6s cut. She did that all by herself, just a little bit of help. So anyway, we've got her cutting wood now. We'll get these 4x4s out of the way. I'll let the mill cool off a little bit, and then I'll go see if I can dig out a 10-footer to make a 4x6 out of. I'm making progress on the porch railing. It's all welded up and ready to go now. Judy put some couple coats of Core Seal on it, and I got the first coat of the green enamel on it here. So gotta let that dry out thoroughly, and we'll flip it over and paint the other side, and then we'll be able to put it up on the porch. We're getting some more work done on Judy's little storage shed for her equipment. She got the 4x4s milled up the other day, and the pier blocks put in, set down, and then I trimmed up the 4x4s up to 6 foot long, and then we made gussets for the top of them for the timber to go across the header, and we just got it put in. We got those all plumb and the header level, and right now she's putting screws in the gussets into the header to hold it down, and then we'll get some boards and put some diagonals on there to keep it from racking. And the other day she got up and cut a whole bunch of 1x filler pieces to put in up there on the wall, that they went into a 1x that went across the wall there and up that high. And she put those in so they fill in with the corrugations on the sheet metal on the side of the building. And then I drug out 2x6 and cut it to 10 feet, and we got it set up there with Timberlock screws. They go through the filler pieces that she put in the sheet metal siding and into the board that's on the other side. So that'll be a header board, ledger board for the roof trusses, or no, not trusses, but rafters. So anyway, it's coming along. I brought down some boards to use for rafters here. We'll get those out in a minute or two and start setting those up. Meanwhile, I got to get some diagonals and put on those 4x4s. Everything's all plumb right now and all square, so we got to get some diagonals so that it holds its squareness there. Well, it's coming together. Got all the rafters up. That's not near as much a pitch as what I would have liked to had. Should have cut those posts, those 4x4s off a little shorter, I guess, and get a little more pitch on it. But I used the 2x4s instead of 2x6s, and I'm glad I put them on 16-inch centers now. Oh, Judy's up there trimming up some 1xs. We'll start getting the sheeting on there. You can't get this thing closed up before it starts pouring down rain again.
It's light. It's 12 feet. Good.
Well, so far that's turned out better than I expected, or as good as I expected, or something. Anyway, I've been up on top of the roof, and it's pretty stable. We put diagonals between the bottom of that center column, that center post, and the two outside ones, and that stiffened it up side to side from racking. And then we had braces going back and forth perpendicular to the building there to hold it upright until we got 3 of the rafters on. And once I got those rafters on there, that thing stiffened right up. So we dug out enough 1x12s to sheet the roof on that, and I've got those up there all nailed down. I've been up there on it, and it's pretty solid. So everything is all dry now and in good shape. I want to keep it that way, so I'm going to go ahead and put some roofing underlayment material up there on the roof. And I'm not going to have time to drag out the steel. I'll get some tin, used steel that we've got up here in a pile someplace. I'll get it later and put that on for a roof. But for now, I'm just going to put some underlayment on there. And it's supposed to rain pretty heavy the next few days, so there's no point in getting all that stuff soaking wet. It's all been in under cover and dried out pretty good. And that'll give her a dry spot to put her machines. Well, we got everything roofed over and weathered in. I just got the underlayment on the roof, but that's going to keep the rain off everything. So we got Judy's little tractor in there and her new little motorized wheelbarrow thingy, and a couple other things in there where they're in underneath the weather. Now, as I said, women are never satisfied. Now she wants to put walls on it. We got it done for now, and that's going to keep everything out of the weather. We get blowing snow and stuff like that will get in there, but a lot better than being out in the weather. Well, weather patterns changed to our normal weather pattern now. It's pouring down rain. In fact, we're supposed to get up to 4 inches of rain today and tomorrow, or day and tonight, another couple inches of rain tomorrow. And then there's supposed to be another atmospheric river, they call it, but another front coming in the next couple days after that. So anyway, it looks like for the near future we're in a rain pattern, which is pretty much normal for this country. Well, we got Judy's shed all done. I put metal on the roof a couple days ago, and so it's all sealed up. So all of her little toys are in there nice and dry. Oh, the metal on the roof is just old garbage metal, salvaged. We got that was taken off other roofs and stuff, and that's pretty much what everything around here is. It's the same stuff as what I put on the front of her grain shed there. last fall. Anyway, it isn't perfect, it isn't beautiful, but it works. So that should keep her toys all nice and dry and out of the weather, out of the sunshine. Not that we're going to get any sunshine, there's much danger of that. Well, now we're off to inside projects for a while, I guess.